I'll just read that. But you don't believe me because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. Eternal life to those that truly recognize who he is. And these are things that Jesus has just declared as being our good shepherd. And Jesus, in that verse, he also says there's a good shepherd and there's a hireling. Hireling spelled Hireling. So the definition of a hireling is a person who works purely for material reward. A person employed to do manual work. Jesus talked about a hireling is the kind of person that sees his sheep getting killed and slaughtered and eaten by the beasts of the field and does nothing about it. And Jesus makes it clear that there is nothing there is nothing like that in his nature. There is no abandoning. He is literally flipping the definition of a Messiah to the people by calling himself a shepherd that is willing to give up his life for others. The last time I checked, in a kingdom or a president or any sort of significant leader, the people give up their life for the leader. It's not the other way around. When last have you heard the king laying down his life for the sake of others, besides Jesus? Nobody. I've witnessed many moments in history where men have put their bodies ahead of protecting a king. But that's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, I'm going to put my life in for this. That is our good shepherd. That is our king. Because he is not going to abandon you. He is not going to give up on you. And more importantly, he wants to see you have eternal life. There is no selfishness in him. There is nothing that he's benefiting at all. He's literally putting his life on the line for all of us to be together in the flock under God's kingdom. And in accepting him and following him, we notice things about ourselves when we choose to submit in him and hear his counsel, hear his words. And the more we begin to hear his words, we read the word, we sing songs, and the more we begin to spend time alone with him in prayer, we begin to notice a mirror is being developed. And God is revealing to us the flaws of our own nature, the shortcoming of our ways. We're not perfect people. We have blasphemed, we have hurt, we have destroyed, but God is revealing to us the very things that we need help with. The Bible is a mirror. It reflects the things that God changes when we choose to obey him. And therefore, if Jesus is the shepherd, that means we are the sheep. So here's some qualities about sheep that, I was just doing a study on sheep, and most people say that sheep are dumb, which is animals have a certain amount of intelligence. Yes, they are prone to doing some things, but I have a list of things that they're good at and things they're not so good at. What sheep are good at, they have an incredible ability for memory and learning ability. I watched this video of this guy, I think it was in Turkey or something like that, and they were at this farm. And so the shepherd was challenging these other people to call out to the sheep. The sheep weren't listening. They were just saying, okay, whatever. They're just doing their own thing, eating the grass. And as soon as the shepherd did a sudden sound, they all turned their heads and ran towards him. So there's a recognition of the right voice. There's an emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. You can look at a sheep and tell if they're happy or sad. Most people saying, I can't see emotion on dogs. That's not true. If you pay attention to your pets, you'll notice their habits. And so, and these are things that you notice that are good about sheep, but here's some things that are not so good about sheep. Stubbornness. Very stubborn. It's beginning to sound familiar the more I talk about sheep. If I'm talking about sheep, Please understand, I'm talking about man especially. They're stubborn. They tend to put their foot on the ground when they don't want to do something. There's a variety of health issues that many sheep face. They're high maintenance. High maintenance. Environmentally, they have an impact because if there's too much in one place for a long time, it's going to cause a massive issue in the land itself, which is why it's the shepherd's responsibility to move them from place to place. They're famous for escaping pens and fences and finding cracks and digging under. And the number one thing is that they are absolutely noisy. They're the loudest things you could hear out there. Most of us here have never lived near sheep. Paulus, I don't know if you ever, Ilya, are they quiet? No, they're not quiet. Same. Very loud. They want they want to make their presence known. And so, are you noticing how similar sheep are to man? You know, God could have said horses, he could have said camels, could have said goats, he could have said chickens for all I know, but he said sheep. Sheep. And, you know, sheep are like humans. We tend to be in flocks, and we don't live long without someone overseeing us. I don't know if anybody's seen a baby grow up on their own. That's not possible. We are vulnerable, just like sheep. Maybe not in the same way as some people might think, but we are vulnerable to many things in this world. And that's why all the more reason we need a shepherd. We need someone that is willing to guide us, to walk with us. And we don't just need anybody that's just there for being there. We need a good shepherd. And the mindset of a sheep reflects the character of a shepherd. And so we now look at the qualities of a shepherd now. We just went through how Jesus described himself. And these are the things that many good shepherds have attributed. So if we look at the meaning of the word shepherd, rohe, it means to tend, to pasture, to feed, to care for. They are commonly known to linking up to leaders or kings. The Greek meaning of shepherd, poimen, I'll just say that, yeah. To tend, to pasture, to care for, or to lead. And actually, the Latin word for shepherd translates into the word pastor. So that's where the word pastor comes from, actually. And so Jesus being our shepherd, our good shepherd, he has many qualities about him that we all